So I'll give you the latest on gout. Okay, well, we had a lot of good things that we heard about in talking about the surgery to get started this morning, and then we slipped in with a little oops, a little uh-oh, and that is I want to talk a little bit about gout. And so let me give you background. What is gout? It turns out that your body is filled with different kinds of chemicals. And one of the chemicals in your blood, in your body, part of the building blocks, is DNA and RNA. You've probably heard of the DNA and RNA. And when you chew up DNA and RNA and metabolize it, one of the waste products of that chemical being degraded is a chemical called uric acid. Okay? And uric acid, a lot of interesting new stuff on it. A lot of new research you might not know about. People who have more uric acid have high heart attack rates, high death rates. And those people who have high uric acid and take allopurinol, which lowers their uric acid, their heart attack and death rates go down. There's also some good research where they gave allopurinol to lower uric acid levels to kids, and their blood pressure got better. So uric acid is a metabolic side product of an enzyme called xanthine oxidase, which releases this uric acid, and it's a irritating chemical. Now, when there's a lot of the uric acid, you can get stone formation, crystallization of the chemical, just like you get crystals in salt water, crystallizing sugar, and you can make hard rock candy, things like that. So when you have a lot of uric acid being metabolized, a lot of it released, the chemical can secrete into the joint space and cause a little sharp crystal to form. And then all of a sudden, you cannot imagine the pain that exists when you have a sharp crystal stabbing your lining of your joint. And so people have talked about pains, and gout pain is right up there with some of the worst pains that people talk about. Also, I'd like to point out that I make a lot of pretty radical claims about the MGB. I say we cure, as far as we can tell, if you define cure as being off your diabetic medicines, we cure, according to a recent survey, 93% of our diabetics at 3 years. That's a very radical claim. We see sleep apnea, high blood pressure, and things like that get better. And we'd like to add to that list gout. We see most of our patients' gout be permanently cured after our surgery. But there is a little caveat to that. Right after the surgery, when you're starving, your body goes and starts looking for other places to get energy to run the body. Because you're not eating 3,000 calories a day, you're now eating less than 1,000, less than 800, in some cases less than 500. So the body goes seeking other sources of energy to run the body. And that's what fat's all about. The whole purpose of having fat on your tummy, on your bottom, under your chin, here and there and everywhere, is so that you need it, you can go to that bank account which you have stored all this fat calories in and burn the fat. The bad news is, though, if you're a heavy person, your body doesn't burn fat well. Against your best interests, against our desires and wishes, your body doesn't burn fat well. It doesn't burn fat when you're starving. It burns muscle cells instead. If I could only talk to my body, what are you doing? Don't burn muscle. We want to keep the muscle. But heavy people, the chemical systems that control it don't burn the fat well. That's how they end up being heavy in the first place. So in our patients, early after surgery, to get energy, you're going to burn a lot of muscle. And as you do that, you'll burn up a lot of the cells and their DNA and RNA, and those nucleic acids get metabolized to uric acid, and our gout patients get rip-roaring, killer, knockdown, you can't imagine, worst gout of their life.
Nice.
Times 1, and then you're free. Okay, so, but it's like going through hazing to get into a fraternity. It's rough. So, when your gout flares, you have to see your gout doctor. We recently had a patient from Canada who had a gout flare, and we sent him over to the ER. Now, when I went to medical school, we had wagons, kerosene lamps, we operated in tents. I learned about gout back then, and we used the therapy of some old-timey drugs. Good morning. Hey, gorgeous. We used some old-timey drugs called colchicine, indomethacin, and drugs like that. And so when I went over to see the ER doctor, I said, you know, when I was trained, 30 years ago, those are the drugs we use. He goes, yeah, we still use those. So you're probably going to hear about your doctor suggesting colchicine or indomethacin as a therapy. Now, we don't like those drugs. They're great for your gout. They're the best we got. But we don't like them because they can cause ulcers. But in this case, you got to have it or you're going to be a really sad character, because that gout is going to flare like crazy, because this week, next week, and the week after, your body's going to be burning a bunch of muscle. So you're going to have probably the worst gout flare ever. And so you need to treat it, maybe stay off of it for a couple days so you can't go back to work and all. But it is bad business for our patients. We had a patient here who owns a giant corporation in Texas. And he's retired and owns a big insurance company. He was vacationing in Montana. Surgery went well. He's really happy. And he called and said, I've got this real pain in my big toe. So I gave him the gout story over the telephone. But basically, gout happens after our surgery. We feel terrible about it. But we are about to change your whole life because your uric acid is going to go down. And long-term, elevated levels of uric acid are associated with death and heart attack and things like that. So this is terrible, but once you're through it, your health is going to benefit over the long term. So we predict and expect that. Well, I need to apologize. Get thee to your doctor and see what he says. He's probably going to recommend colchicine, indomethacin, or some combination. They're dangerous for your stomach, so remember your Tums, remember your yogurt, things like that. And then, if you can, in the midst of the pain of that flared-up toe, keep in mind, this is it. No more gout after this.
I'd still do it tomorrow and twice on Sunday.
That's the gout story.